Hello, everyone. My name is KJ, and today is my spoiler review for the season two of X-Men 97. This is episode 6 spoiler review. If you have not seen this show, please pause this. And before you go, could you do one thing, guys? Could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about season 2 of X-Men 97, episode 6. So I'm going to give you all some time to think about if you want to watch this spoiler review if you have not seen this episode. So enjoy this skit that I made for you. Enjoy. Okay. I've been waiting for this my whole life. Been waiting for this. Here we go. All right. Here I go. Woo! Here I go. This is going to be crazy. All right. It's morphin' time. What's that noise? Who is interrupting me? I was getting ready to turn into the Green Ranger. Now I must investigate. Oh, Green Ranger, baby. Hiya. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Ah, ah. RKO. Ah. Fuck the Red Ranger. Fuck him. Fuck him. Yo. Why? Just why? Out of my business. You stay out of my business. I'm the Green Ranger. The Green Ranger, me, is better than the Red Ranger. That's why I did that. Now stay out of my business. Okay. I'm going outside to practice to morph. And I'm going to touch grass. Goodbye. This episode starts off with a look back at the death of Magneto as we see Charles Xavier in the danger room, and he's pretty much grieving through this, and he's replaying this moment over again. And there's like this, like a AI robot that is talking to him through this, and this AI robot actually makes this much difficult as we see like all of a sudden, like, Apocalypse is gonna squish his head, and he's like, "Yo, yo, stop this! Abort, abort!" Like, but he just replays this because I think too because he did like some time traveling that I believe is kind of like Doctor Strange from Avengers Endgame, but not exactly what I'm going at with this is, but with Doctor Strange in Avengers Infinity War, I should actually say he he checked different alternative endings to defeat Thanos basically in different multiverse. And there was only one. This is kind of like it, but not exactly in the way. I know. But this is Charles is trying to maybe think about how could he done this differently. Cuz it's always going back to that last moment between Professor X and Magneto. And so it this is what I thought I liked about that too, is just because in a way in his mind he could, I think he would go back in time because now they know how to with Bishop, of course. But I think he would. And I think in a way this is his way of trying to find an alternative way. But I don't, obviously it's not working because this AI, like artificial intelligence, as we learn through this episode, starts getting its own opinion. But we're not there yet. So the next scene we see Then it's Polaris, who is the daughter of Magneto, and we're seeing her finally get like more of a spotlight here. And Polaris has been trying to play like a good mutant and securing alongside her boyfriend Hovik, who later on has to stop her from dropping a giant ship because of this like cult religions group that is very violent, and this leads to the X Factor to try to stop him. But Polaris was ready to wreck their whole life. Like she she has the same temper as her dad. And what we're going to see through this episode is how is she dealing with the loss of her father? How is she moving on and what she wants in life? Because we know that she helped Jubilee escape early in the later older episodes of this season and from the prisons that they made, and she's just having a hard time. But because these like cult religious group here was against mutant and saying really hateful things, and of course attacking her with firearms, of course. So she wasn't playing around, but her everybody had to stop. The rest of the X Factor. I know there's an X Factor and an X Force, but this is the X Factor, who were like, "Yo, chill, girl, chill, chill." Like, cause she was gonna again, she was gonna drop a giant ship on this cult terrorist thing. Now, again, like, because the violence wasn't necessary, and it would look really, really bad. So director Val Coops fired her, fired her because they had an argument, but she fired her in a way where she can just walk away. And that's good for Polaris because usually usually in the Marvel stories and the cinematics and all that, they would rather eliminate a mutant like Polaris, especially since he's the daughter of Magneto, and I'm pretty sure the government knows that. And so director Val Coops, which I don't believe that's Valentine from I don't think that's Valentine from Thunderbolts, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. I wasn't quite sure and I didn't have the time to look that up, but if it is, let me know. But this is a seems to be a different Val. And so she obviously again fires her. And okay, and she's angry, of course, and hurt. And then she goes back to the X Mansion and reunites with the X Men and stuff. And this is kind of her to regroup. Now the next scene, Charles Xavier can't forgive himself, obviously, because he takes the loss of Magneto very personal for obvious reasons, and they're like best friends, they're like brothers, and he always felt like this is his fault. So when he knew that his daughter was coming back to the X Mansion and to regroup and trying to figure out what she's going to do in their life and where she stands and what's next for her in the sense because the loss of her father. And this is kind of like it kind of reminds me of Yelena from Thunderbolts when she was in the series, the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, and this is where she came back to like get revenge on Hawkeye, and Kate Bishop was trying to stop her because she didn't know that her sister, Natasha, a Black Widow, made that sacrifice for the Soul Stone, basically, in Avengers Endgame. And that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's kind of like that. But this version is Polaris is she's not angry at Charles Xavier because she's obviously attended to the X Mansion for education and training. and so she's really close to him. She understands, but these two at this episode, they definitely need each other, you know, to have each other's back, and you know, they're both kind of like out of character, not being themselves. And this episode to me was watching these two realize like, okay, we're both looking at this the wrong way. This is the right way we should look at this and move forward, because this is what Magneto would want anyway, deep down inside, because it's about having peace, it's about mutant rights, and it all always goes back to that. But in this episode, these two need a motivation and a realization to have that, as we see in this episode. Now, after Polaris reunites with the X-Men members, Jean, B, Cyclops, and so forth and so forth, they have a nice little reunion. And again, you know, Professor X is dealing with some PTSD. And so here's what happens. Some of the X-Men go off to on the jet to Genosha, while Polaris goes to the danger room, and she works with Bishop and some young new mutants and for some training and stuff. And they both, again, this is where we're seeing that they both need Professor X and Polaris need each other and stuff. And she needs the X Mansion. She needs to have her mind distracted, so she's in the dangers room with Bischoff, training some new younger mutants to be the future of the X-Men and stuff. And they're training, and there's a lot of rookies in there, and one of the rookies named Wing is injured, and the room abruptly cancels the safety protocols, puts them into a fight for their lives. Because again, this AI thing decided, you know what, I'm gonna go rogue. No pun intended. But this AI was like, screw it. I'm gonna hurt everybody. I've studied enough. I figure it out. And this training room went from to easy mode to like very hard mode, right? It's like nobody's getting extra lives, no power ups, no nothing. It was like that type of video game. But this is like, it's like, what's interesting about this AI, artificial intelligence, it it can go into your mind and upload the images that you have in your head. Like, so basically it can really visualize and see the past. So in a way it can actual time travel, because it shows Bischoff's timeline. And this wasn't a pretty, and it was like a small recap of season 1 of X-Men 97 in this, where you saw like these robots slash humans hybrids, and they just start slashing and dicing and attacking, right? And these students are trying their best, and Polaris is just now, she's gotten again leader mode with Bishop and stuff, and it gets dangerous at the time. But they survive and get out of that room eventually. But it was really cool to see those, and it's cool that I can't. And again, it's been like such a long time of the old X Men cartoons, but I feel like we have yet seen these X Men characters, the new ones that they haven't really used, but they use a little bit through this season, but not a lot. But they seem to be the main focus, and it seems like too that there could be like these could be the mutants we see in a live action debut in the MCU, if you think about it. Because I think this is kind of like I've been saying, like this might be the blueprint. X-Men 97 as a series might be the blueprint of how they debut the X-Men and the mutants in the MCU of this. So, but who knows? I could be wrong. Kevin Feige, might have a different idea, but I really like how in this episode they're using what I feel like unknown, not recognized Marvel characters, mutant characters, but I understand the diehard fans. I understand. I see you guys out there in the comments. I know you guys know, but there's people who watch this show that don't know. But I'm here to kind of let them know, like, hey, these are characters you should look up, check them out, read some origin stories about them, and I think you may like them. So that's what I'm saying. But that's what I like about this is showing the younger generation of what could be the future of the MCU. That's what I like about this scene and this whole episode. Also, in this episode too, as that AI, artificial intelligence, built itself a robot, it started heading to Genosha, and this is where Charles and the other X Men members are at, and they're over there trying to rebuild it, figure out what to do with it, and just this robot just came in and like then things got serious because now you got this danger bot who was from the danger room is ready to fight Professor X and the X-Men, and they struggle because this was a fight against their whole life because this thing knew everybody's fighting move, everybody's fighting style. But what I do like about it too, about this episode, what I think is my favorite part for this fight scene sequence is the fact that we saw Charles Xavier's abilities and like fight move his fighting abilities. I get it. He's in a wheelchair. Yes, he this this danger bot destroyed his wheelchair. It's not a regular wheelchair, everybody. But he was on the ground. Obviously, he can't walk. I know. But I'm just saying, for a guy who cannot walk, who's paralyzed, I know, I just thought that was really cool to show him at his best and how clever he is to use his abilities and stuff to take on this danger bot while hoping to get rescued by at least one of the X-Men members. And this obviously all comes down to Polaris, who just has fears and rejects the legacy of her father Magneto. So this is like do or die for her. Like this is the moment where we see through this episode what path she's gonna take. Like basically, is she gonna be a hero or she's gonna be the villain? Who knows, right? But we did find out she has to dig deep and accept herself fully before she can defeat this murderous robot and tearing it to pieces with her powers. Both Charles and Polaris are more at peace with themselves as they take on this thing. And what's really important is he was really fighting for because in this moment, as he's seen witnessed Magneto's daughter do that, and that burst of anger that she has, it made him realize too, and I think this is the most important message in this episode, was this reminded Professor X, Charles Xavier, what he's actually fighting for. What is the main goal? What's the main focus? And it's to live in a world where mutants and non-mutants, the Avengers, and other Marvel characters can coexist and not be treated differently, for being different, for being a mutant. And that's the thing that Charles Xavier in this moment realized because seeing that is, yes, it's sad to see Magneto gone, and I know he's going to miss his best friend, his brother for life, but Polaroid is the future, and she's the daughter of Magneto. And being there for her and watching her grow and become the woman that she's going to grow up to be is more important. You see what I'm saying? Yes, I know she's an adult, but I'm saying as far as how he sees her, that's what he has realized he needs to focus on. Not just her, but all mutants, because he can't do this forever. And that's the whole point of protecting the future and him fighting against the government of the United States and the MCU. So I'm just saying like that was the most important thing that I feel like they showed. And I like that because that shows us that even somebody like Charles Xavier can have a terrible loss or a terrible moment, especially with like Apocalypse, who plays no games. He don't play around and have feelings and say things that are just not him. But same with the anger and the sadness and the emotions that he dealt with. So he is a human being and he has feelings, but he has overcome those and after seeing this moment. So also in this episode too, there now Charles Xavier after this moment decides to take over Genosa and making the X Corp as they discuss of what's to come. The director and the president of the United States, they're not very happy about this because they don't have what's the word, jurisdiction. And I was just like, dang, like Charles Xavier, he said, screw y'all, like I'm gonna have my own business. And this pretty much too is building up to like a Avenger level type X-Men group. And that's fine because that's what we want to see anyway. If you're a Marvel fan, like it's cool to see the OGs, the classic, but it's cool to see like a different mixture of mutants in the X-Men group or just fighting along with them in certain cases. And because there's so many really awesome mutants that I just think it's going to be really cool to see and I hope they get to showcase a lot of those. Now, when we get to the ending scene of this, we get a post-credit scene type thing where we see Apocalypse bringing Gambit back alive as his one of his four horsemen, as his regular cards that look like regular gambling cards that you would see at casinos or buy at your gas station or whatever. They turn into like those terror trait cards and they look satanic and evil. And so this is an evil Gambit. And what's really interesting is before that even started, the watcher is literally watching this. Like he's just up there watching everything. He sees what Apocalypse is doing, and he saw this, and it's just his. It was a real clever way. It was as clever as they showed the Watcher in Daredevil Born Again season 2, during that like boxing fight that the Kingpin insisted on doing because I don't know why, because he's evil. That's why. But that was kind of like the thing. Like you had to really pay attention, or you just had to find somebody who pointed it out. But after rewatching that particular scene, there was like a shape of him, of the Watcher, in the sky where Apocalypse is at, and he just brings back Gambit alive. So I don't know how the Watcher feels about this. Like I'm very sure he's sad about it, but I thought that's cool. I figured, and I believed a lot of the rumors and stuff that they were gonna do the evil Gambit and stuff, which I think is gonna be really cool. I mean, they probably have done it before in like one of the older X-Men cartoons, but to see it now in 2026, I think it's gonna be fun. And I think the direction they're going with this franchise is really good. And so I do hope that in episode 7 we get to see the evil Gambit do his thing, and it's gonna be interesting to see if Rogue can get back because I wonder if she will turn like the evil Rogue once she takes her gloves off and lays hands on Gambit, because her Rogue's power is to obviously absorb other people's power and have it and keep it or copy it. So I just wonder if that's gonna be the thing because she may think that may work, but she may turn herself evil. And I wonder if like the other X-Men members are gonna try to stop her at the same time. I think if they show it in episode 7 or any of the episodes of this season, I think it'd be an emotional ride. A very dramatic love story, X Men type story where they're going with it. But I think that's really cool. And the way Apocalypse is moving, like he might be the next big bad villain after Doctor Doom. That's the way they're presenting it to me. That's just my opinion on that. That's why I think they're going the way they're portraying this. But I could be wrong. This is X-Men 97's not technically connected to the MCU timeline, but in some ways it is, depending how you want to look on it. But they never, denied it wasn't connected to the MCU, and they never, they just leave it to your imagination in a sense because sometimes Kevin Feige just flip flops back and forth with it. But hey, he he runs the MCU pretty much. So I don't know. I think it's foreshadowing a lot when I see Apocalypse, and now with the Watcher, I really honestly think like this to me is just getting people ready for Apocalypse in the live action of the MCU and stuff with stuff like that. That's what I get out of it when those like scenes show up. But other than that, if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely gonna give it an 8. Really good episode. It again it just focuses on between Professor X and Polaris because obviously they're the two who are closest to Magneto the most, and I think they all are. To a lot of the other X Men members are close to Magneto in a way, but you know, for her to one day say, "Man, now my dad's gone, and I gotta represent his legacy, but be my own person," I think that really scared her, and it upsets her that you know while she lost her dad, the whole world doesn't want mutants in this season. So I really like that. I like that they focus on that because this is an episode you should do. It's not like an episode that had so much going on and like it wasn't like episode 4 for sure, not even close to like episode 4 as far as the storytelling wise, but this was a story of showing where the X-Men are going. This is showing where, you know, they're in for a a big challenge and we get to see like more of the mutants get to shine more than unusual, and the OG X-Men members it looks like they're taking a step back in a certain way, but I think it's cool that in this season we're seeing a little bit something a little bit different with other mutant characters. So I really appreciate that they made a whole episode at this point just for the younger mutants and like Polaris, who, again, it's somebody people do recognize if you're a diehard fan of this stuff. But if people who never seen this character or heard the name, this is a character that I would recommend to them to definitely check out her origin story. Buy the comic book, YouTube it, whatever you gotta do. I think this is a character that I think should be in the live action of the MCU. And the way they portray her in this, I hope they find a way to bring that to the live action if they ever want to find somebody to cast to play that character. So that's all I got to say about her on that. And again, really good episode, slow pace episode, and the Danger Bot wasn't like the big bad villain. This was kind of like a level 1, level 2 boss type thing, which is fine. We need that once in a while in video games and in stories. So I think the villain for this made sense and it was perfect, and I loved it. So that is my spoiler review. All thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys and peace